move into a portion of our day here that's kind of like a quasi board meeting for the sake of everyone to kind of get a sense of our board members. And as our first year, we are also electing officers of our board. And so what we're going to do is, since we have Dr. Diamond on the camera, is just allow our board members to kind of each give a little statement about their work, what brings them to the board, and how they would like to, remain supportive of the board moving forward. So without further ado, let me pass it to Dr. Diamond, and then we will hear from some other board members.
Oh, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm so pleased to be here this morning, and grateful for the opportunity to be part of the event. Dr. Palermo gave I'm having a little hard time hearing myself, but let me figure out if there's something I'm doing wrong here. But if you can hear me, it's okay. It really was a miraculous story when I was studying Indigenous law and teaching Indigenous law in Arizona, and did come back to the East Coast and inquired about teaching, and there really was great concern that there would be no interest in the study of Indigenous law in Rhode Island, and no one was more surprised and amazed than I was when the class completely filled up. And so to be here today with the center having been launched and doing this fabulous work is extremely rewarding to me, and I'm very, very proud of the work that's being done of Dr. Palermo and Two Hawks and their accomplishments. And also, I just so I practiced law for 25 years in Connecticut as a criminal lawyer. Went to the University of Arizona to pursue a doctoral degree in Indigenous law and policy and human rights advocacy, and then started teaching there, running a clinic, running the Tribal Justice Clinic there, teaching tribal courts and tribal law. And I'm back there now as the interim director. But a couple of points I just want to make. Ty mentioned it, and so did Judge O'Connell. But the federal courts have a sad and unfortunate history of having been an obstacle to Indigenous rights and human rights for Native peoples. A tragic and sad history that has never really been confronted. Cases that referred to Indigenous peoples as less than human, inferior, and therefore the supremacy of colonizing forces in the U.S. The U.S. was first, the states were second, Indigenous people were not on the list. And that being the foundation of federal law is tragic, and never really having been dealt with. And then you come to New England, where state governments continue to say we don't have any Native people here. They don't exist. They were defeated hundreds of years ago, which is just simply not true. Not true. And so the Center for Indigenous Peoples' Rights is a recognition of that and a pursuit of yes, reclaiming the natural order of things. Native people, Indigenous peoples in New England and elsewhere who were here first, who've never left, who have natural rights, Aboriginal rights that precede everything else and continue to exist to this day, which indeed need to be reclaimed, reasserted, persuaded, and convinced of those who deny it. And so I'm extremely excited about the work going on at the Center for Indigenous Peoples' Rights, and looking forward to continuing to build. You don't have to go very far to find, as Judge O'Connell talked about, Indigenous people who need advocacy, who need assistance, who need representation. Who I tried a case this year in a tribal court, and I did it pro bono as an attorney. I was asked by the court to do it, but the only Native person in the room was the tribal man who the tribe was looking to put in prison, and he was the only Native in the room, and that troubled me, bothered me to no end. The needs are overwhelming, and so what the center is doing is miraculous, is very well needed. I'm so overwhelmed with joy, that I could contribute in a program exists at the law school, that the center is doing that, the kind of representation, whether it's in New England or elsewhere, or before the international courts and tribunals, which stand there ready and able to listen. And so thank you for inviting me to speak. Thank you for inviting me to participate. And I look forward to continuing to assist the center from afar, occasionally from New England, but as a board member. So thank you so much.
We have a couple videos we'd like to play that because they did want to share a message to the crowd and the audience. And so first is our Ray and I's colleague, a founding board member for the American Indian Law Student Association, Mario McLean Jr. So if we can cue up his video. We see Dr. Diamond on the screen here. Not that I don't love to see his face. It's just it's being controlled from remote. There we go.
Are you seeing that full screen, Ty?
Yeah, I think that's full screen. Yep.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mario McLean. I'm creating this video to accept the nomination for the secretary position. I just want to say thank you to Ty and Ray, for starting this up and even thinking about me regarding this position. So just to give just some basic background for me, I took my first couple of Native American Indian law courses at RWU, where I graduated in 2021. I took those classes alongside Ray and Ty. One was just a basic intro to Indian law. The second one was tribal law and tribal courts. So that was more focused on what does a tribal court look like, what was the properties regarding that, how do constitutions work, just kind of what the rights were for the tribe, things of that nature, giving a bunch of more feedback, which was very robust, and that information was truly valuable. And also want to thank a special thanks to Professor Diamond, who, he came to Roger Williams Law and he basically advocated for those classes to actually be started up again, which I guess previously Native American law was taught, but at least during my tenure to start, those classes weren't available. So seeing those classes later on during my studies, that was amazing, and I jumped immediately, at the opportunity to take those courses. So thanks again, Professor Diamond. So I'm a part of the Wapakwasa Nipmuc band, and I just want to learn as much as possible, and I also want to be as helpful as possible. I am 100% an open book. So if anyone has any questions for me regarding anything at all, please feel free to reach out. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I know that, CIPR is going to continue to do great things. Truly grateful for what is happening, and I'm happy to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Mario, who's now our board secretary. And next up is Samantha Maltese.
Just give it a minute to buffer. Sorry for the delay.
Hi all, Winiki Suck. My name is Samantha Maltese. I'm a member of the Wampanoag Tribe of Quina. I am a lecturer in legal studies at Brandeis, so I have a class momentarily that unfortunately is the reason that I can't join you in person. It's on Indian law, Indigenous rights, and environmental justice, which are broadly my academic focuses. I'm also a 3L at Harvard Law School currently, and the NALSA co-president for last year and this year. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm supposed to dive in here, but Ty asked me to take this video just to say that I'm happy to stay on the board, happy to fulfill whatever positions need to be filled. I'll be headed out to San Francisco next year, clerking, so I won't be physically present in the area. I don't know if that has any bearing on anything, just more of an FYI. And yeah, I'm really excited to see everyone in person. I'll be there on Sunday, and I hope you all have a really wonderful start to the conference. Thanks. Hi all, Winiki Suck. My name is Samantha.
So Samantha is the first Quina Wampanoag to attend Harvard Law, and she was just received a clerkship in the Ninth Circuit out west, which is where she'll be in San Francisco. And in the federal Indian law world, the Ninth Circuit is really a robust circuit where a lot of cases are heard. So congratulations to her. And we've already had this conversation, but she, as you heard, had an open acceptance to the vice chair role on the board. So we thank her for that. Now, the third video we wanted to share from our board member is our chair of the board, who just accepted the nomination. His name is David Logan, professor and former dean of Roger Williams University School of Law. And we have his video, but the audio is a little crazy, so we don't, want to put you all through it. But he did accept the chair role. Professor Logan was kind of the precipice for Dr. Diamond. When Ray and I, our first year, we were in his torts class, and Ray and I sat in the front like nerdy older students, and he happened to read an article about Ray in a newspaper magazine, And he comes up to Ray, he's like, I didn't know you were indigenous. And Ray looked over to him and I, and he was like, yeah, that's why we're here. And he was like, you guys got to come to my office to meet. And so we went to his office, and fresh out of law school, he worked on the Black Hills case, right? And so his father worked at a firm that represented the Sioux, right? It was the Sioux Nation, Lakotas. And he was introduced to Indian law, like just, fresh out of law school, working at his father's firm, and became enthralled with the depth and breadth of not only Indian law, but the people that this law impacts and they are forced to navigate through. And so he's carried that with him through his tenure as an administrator at Wake Forest before coming to Roger Williams Law. And as soon as he saw us, he was like, whatever you need, you guys should start an American Indian Law Students Association. You should do this event. Can we host an event? Let's do. And he was like, what we didn't realize was he was a year or two out from retirement. So we were like his kind of sunset project. And so, and we were fine with that because he gave us and opened up so many doors. And when Dr. Diamond showed up, again, these were all just pieces the universe was presenting to us. So it was incumbent upon us to put them all together. So we thank deeply Professor Logan, who's traveling in Greece right now, and had booked this trip when we told him about it in the summer. So we wish him safe travels, and we want to thank him as well. So just make sure we got everyone. I think we did. All right. So what I want to do is before I let us take a little break, go downstairs, let's give the Zoom folks a break. We're going to have some refreshments and stuff, and then we'll come back and close out our afternoon with a year in review. But what I wanted to do was just kind of clarify the center's scope. So we do three things, and we stay in those lanes. One of them is legal services, right? So we do direct representation, civil, criminal representation. We do transactional support. So, any kind of individual things like what you'll hear from clients about everything from a criminal expungement to setting up a nonprofit. And so we do the gambit as it relates to law. We're general practitioners. We represent federally recognized folks who may not have an issue that's directly impacting the tribe. And so it's like a personal matter that they may need their own attorney for. And not everybody has the money to do that. And then folks who aren't federally recognized, who may not have tribal resources, obviously have nowhere to turn. And so we provide those legal services regardless of status. And it's not like we check who you are, but like Ray said, if we find out you're not who you are, then it's a different problem. But anyways, so we do legal services, then we do nation building work. And so you'll hear from a client around our work helping them develop a constitution. So, sometimes tribal nations want to operate more formally, implement governance structures, have maybe the council has always met, but they don't really document their meetings and they don't hold themselves to a standard kind of operating procedure. So we can kind of be that support, as your general counsel or your in-house counsel, or supporting your in-house counsel to make sure, meetings are ran, minutes are filed, everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, council seats are, appropriately allocated, or voting processes are, the integrity is maintained. We can support that infrastructure from development to maintenance to execution. And that includes developing a tribal code, amending your tribal code, developing a tribal court system, or having technical support or advisement around that if you already have it. And so that's the nation building element of our work. And then we do policy work. And I think there's nobody better to talk about it than our policy director. You want to share a few words just about the scope of, especially what you're doing right now?
Sure. Just because I'd be remiss, could we have a round of applause for Dr. Palermo and the great work that he's done? He's speaking collectively about, you know, the center and how we've all come together, but it's really been at his leadership, and he's the one who's kind of been at the forefront of everything, cracking the whip a little bit, because I definitely need that from time to time. So I just want to say, Chief, thank you very much for all of the work you've been doing. So yeah, I'm policy director. But before I get to that, let me say this. We need more Indian lawyers, plain and simple, for the young folks out there, for the older folks out there. I was just speaking with brother from the Matakisa tribe who was talking about going for a second grad degree, and no, go get a JD. What I found, I come from a activist background. I ran a community center not too far from here for about 9.5 years, and went through the process there of, you know, being totally against the system, and we're gonna march, we're gonna protest, to realizing that gets you so far, so then having to figure out how to deal with law and policy and all that, to then realizing that, hey, I can only get so far because I don't understand how this law thing works. And this law thing is how they come up with policies. And this law thing is how they keep violating what we perceive to be our rights, which gets us so upset. So as the doctor said, the only way we can actually figure that out is to go to law school and get formally trained in it. And I will say that, especially being older, it's probably one of the best decisions I made in my entire life. So for anyone out there thinking, especially if you're a quote unquote Indian, go to law school. We need more people. The center needs more people. And I argue that it's the last frontier for indigenous folks in terms of putting ourselves back in our proper position under the law. But I remiss. Policy director, I've had a really great run so far. Some really exciting stuff. Started off working on just some overviews on how we understood jurisdiction as it applied to Indians and Indian nations. And as Dr. Palermo pointed out, the nuance of it and how it interacts and can conflict if you don't understand it, but ultimately just kind of trying to put it down in a 1 or 2 pages so that individuals looking at it can say, oh, okay, here are general points that I can kind of understand, and then take it from there. After that, we had the great opportunity, which I'm still really amazed that the Prime Minister is actually speaking tomorrow, but we're able to be connected with the State of the African Diaspora, which is a group out of Africa from the African Union. They have 5 zones there, I think, for the African continent, and then they created one specifically for the diaspora of African folks that are out there that are looking to connect. But they recognize that a lot of the issues that they have dealing with colonization, repatriation of artifacts and things of that nature mirrored what indigenous nations were dealing with here. So as policy director, they invited me to sit in on their weekly meetings, to just give advisement and feedback, and to also kind of take from them what they're doing over there that's working very well, and to see how we can apply it here. So I've been able to be engaged in that regard as well. Had an opportunity to do some testimonials on behalf of a few bills at the State House down here, which was really good, to engage the legislature from a different perspective. I hadn't been down there since I went to law school, so it was good to be back down there again, and sharing some thoughts in that regard. And then I think probably the most exciting element that I'm working on right now is a ICWA bill for Rhode Island. Our Rhode Island ACLU reached out and asked if we were interested in working on an ICWA bill. And I had actually been working with some of the interns here on creating some language. I think I just grabbed the language from Maine because it popped up and we're reworking it. But to have the ACLU say, hey, we saw this as something that was going on nationally, we want to do something here. And then our legal director to say, you need to talk to our policy director. That's been a really cool sort of space to be in. So from a policy perspective, you know, just a lot of great work that's going on. And I want to encourage everyone out there, you know, especially here locally, but anywhere, if there's a policy issue, a policy concern, something that we should be aware of, please reach out. I enjoy this area of work. It allows me to kind of be wild and kind of what I'd like to see, because you know, it's got to go before people to accept it anyway. So I figured let's just throw everything in there and see what sticks. But as Judge McConnell said, you know, if we're not the ones pushing these things forward, then things stay where they're at. So please reach out, policy@thecipr.org. Reach out if you want to be of assistance. Reach out if you've got some great stuff going on that we should be aware of. Reach out if you think that we can be supportive of what you've got going on. Whatever the case may be, please reach out because we're here to support and be of assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. I just wanted to kind of drill down a little bit on that Rhode Island ICWA bill, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act, which was upheld this recent Supreme Court term in the Halan v. Brackeen case, which, you know, the Indian law community saw that as a victory amongst, you know, as far as a victory can be. And so for the moment, it's unscathed. But for folks listening and in the room, an analogous reason for doing this is Roe v. Wade. Rhode Island was very proactive in codifying a state version of Roe v. Wade and protecting women's rights and abortion rights in the state, irrespective of what the Supreme Court does. And what did the Supreme Court do? They overturned Roe v. Wade. But Rhode Islanders are protected. And so what many states were doing ahead of the Halan v. Brackeen case was doing this, passing a state version of the Indian Child Welfare Act. And so it was on our radar, and as the creator continues to do, moves the universal pieces in our favor, and they happened to reach out to us while we were already scouring through the index of, I think it was Turtle Talk, who sent if you're not on Turtle Talk's email list, you certainly should be, turtletalk.blog, I think. You can Google it, but I mean, that's a one-stop shop, especially around law and policy stuff as it relates to tribal nations. But they shared a spreadsheet of all the states that were working on this. And so we were able to kind of do an analysis of all those laws and kind of think about what it makes sense for Rhode Island. So now that you know that this is happening also, you know, and you want to engage in the process, you know, as Ray said, that's what we're here for. We are not the purveyors or the protectors or the sole knowers of knowledge. We are just the ones to initiate action and want to engage folks in that process to make it make sense for the tribal communities here, which are different than Mass and Connecticut, who have their own needs. And, you know, we are here to support those needs as they are. But on this bill, for folks who are interested in that work, you know, we are, and I know the ACLU is certainly open to input. There will be more, obviously, public communication around this. This is not it, but we're just giving you the kind of trailer to the movie that's forthcoming. So thank you again, Ray, for all that work. And he's also being very humble. I'd just like to take a second to just kind of, I don't want to take us down, but I promise I'll bring us back up. But last year when we started this, last summer, and we were super excited, my son was prematurely born, but thanks to the creator, healthy. And so I told Ray at the time, Jen hadn't joined the team yet. I had told Ray, I was like, listen, I got to kind of hand this off to you for now because, you know, I got to put on my dad hat and be in the NICU with my son. And without a doubt, you know, without hesitation, Ray picked everything up and kept the ball moving, which is probably why we got that gift from United Way, because I certainly wasn't in the game. Sadly, about 15 days later, my infant son walked on and joined our ancestors. And so that took, as you could imagine, me out of the game completely. And, you know, Ray and his family really held us down, held everything down. And so I appreciate you, brother, for doing that. And my beautiful wife for like thinking about, I was like, you know, when you lose somebody, I mean, grief is grief. When you lose somebody, right? And so, when that happened, it kind of just recalibrated and makes you rethink your purpose and like, why are we even here? And I think if I learned anything, it is, you'd be surprised where you get lessons from. And what my son has taught me, and we named him Strongheart because even from the second we could hear his heartbeat through his scary birth and then through his short life, his heartbeat was a solid, steady thump. He never lost his heartbeat. It was always a solid thump. And so we call him Strongheart. And I think it's, we used to put headphones on her belly so he could hear our music, our culture, our family's voices. So I know that, he's carrying us and supporting us. And, I just also want to thank, my wife as well, just because I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for her. And so all of that to say that, we are here for reasons beyond ourselves. And so I was reminded, and Ray, who talked me off the ledge a couple times from just like throwing my hands up, was like, our people need us. And so I think, it's important that we're here so that we can just make sure that we are doing what we're doing for the future generation. And so, that's the, I couldn't let you go unscathed without giving you your shout out. And then to really round it out, he brought on Jen, who another universal alignment was really kind of the third leg to the stool. Jen brought an entirely new perspective because Ray and I can be, jammed up in our lockstep thinking, and she provides a totally third perspective that that helps us move things along. And I'm excited for the next, year, especially as to when we really can flex and do our thing. And so with that said, I am going to pause us for now. Let's go downstairs, stretch our legs, stop, listening to us yap, chat a little bit. We'll take a break in the Zoom world, and we will come back a little bit before 12 and do a year in review, hear from some clients, and then I'll give us a layout of the weekend. And a reiteration to the folks here, to the folks in Zoom land who are watching from work because they couldn't come today, but do plan to be here this weekend, about our reception tonight, which I'll talk more about, which you are all welcome to attend. So thank you for listening to all of us yap this morning. But I hope we, at a minimum, communicated the story of the center, the story of the people behind the center, and what we're here for. We're here to help you all, to help our people, and to secure the future generations through law and policy, and help navigate all that. So thank you again, and we will take a break and come back a little bit before 12.